second to blood bans. Because this is
Oh, right.
another iterance where for a long time, by the way, zero movement on this under Stephen Harper. Like, it's not like the
Yeah.
Conservatives were on the edge of their seat to roll out all of these amazing things. No, none of them
Yeah.
were moving on it. I
I
think the
will.
plan
I,
to.
I I'll give them one point of forgiveness, and that is, although the ability to test the blood supply for HIV was definitely available at the time, back when we started around 2010, it wasn't low cost to test the entire blood supply. But then they came up with all sorts of techniques and technologies, and the testing equipment got cheaper, and all the various bits that you need got cheaper. And even just by 2015 or so, like even just in the first 5 years of us doing this radio program, that news flipped completely. So that I guess it's kind of expensive and we don't want to overwhelm the cost of the healthcare system and blah blah. That wasn't even true anymore by around 2015. So like that whole thing was dead in the water as an excuse completely.
It's worth noting that no gay man whatsoever could donate blood. And then it was, if you've not had any sex at all in 5 years, then maybe if you're nice. And
Yeah,
then it
yeah.
was 6 months. Then it was 3 months. And then now I think it's, I think there are no prohibitions. You just have
It's
to
behavior-based. Yeah.
behavior-based, which
Yeah,
is
yeah.
the same as everybody else.
Yes.
Everybody else is behavior-based. The
Yeah.
gays, blanket ban. Everyone else, behavior.
Yeah.
That's reversed. But this also, yet again, didn't come out of the goodness of their hearts. Now, in the Liberal platform in, I want to say 2015, they said they would roll back the blood ban and then proceeded to not do that for like a whole electoral term. Like it was going nowhere. They did nada. It was only when they were, this might come as a shock to you, sued.
Yes.
when they were going to lose another lawsuit, that's when many of these changes came about, including, but even today, they will not accept ocular donations, so eyeballs.
Yeah.
It's just not happening. And I remember that me and you interviewed somebody with Canadian Blood Services, and we asked them, is it? Because I couldn't understand the math.
It was the Spider-Man meme. It was Blood Services Canada saying, Health Canada is putting restrictions on us. Health Canada is saying, no, we're not. It's the provinces. The provinces were saying, no, we're not. It's the feds. The feds were saying, this is a Blood Services Canada problem.
Yeah.
Why are you talking to us? And it was just nobody was taking responsibility for it. And then, somebody lost a lawsuit and they're like, well, I guess we have to take responsibility. And then everybody could point at them and they couldn't point at anyone else. And then something happened.
It's worth noting that when we interviewed them, we were asking, okay, are you batch testing?
Yeah.
5 people donate, pool a bit of the samples of the blood, and then you do one test, clear 5, so speedy. And they were like, no, we're not batch testing. We test everything. In which case, why not?
Yeah.
Like, if you are testing every piece of blood that comes through, why are you not accepting blood from gay men who do not have HIV? Why? And there was never any good answer for it. There was never a good answer. Sticking to HIV in the last 10 years, we've gone to a point where you needed, I think it was daily medication, to a point now where you could get an injection once every 3 months and your transmissibility rate drops to technically 0, or technically almost 0. You still can't donate blood if you have HIV. It just will be absolutely clear here. The blood ban and the organ donation ban and all of these other bans were in place for gay men, regardless. They could have HIV, they could not have HIV. Either way, no ban. But I don't know. I think when we look at the achievements in rights that queer folks have gained under the Trudeau Liberal government, some of it, I think, is genuine. Bill 279, which then became Bill C, whatever it was, adding trans gender identity and gender expression to the Canadian Human Rights Code.
Mhm.
That was a House bill. It came from the government. It was put
Yeah.
forward by them, and it's put into law the same protections as age, disabilities, so on and so forth. So the government can't discriminate against somebody based on whether or not they're trans. That has in turn led to being able to put an X marker on your passport in Canada since that became law. There's a whole knock-on effect that has happened, but some of it is thanks to Trudeau, but a pretty sizable portion was some very gentle pushing from lost court cases. And I don't want us to lose sight of there was, because they can obviously take credit for the successes, which is all the credit to them. But let's not be delulu here. They have also been sternly shoved at several points in the last 10 years.
Yeah, and it also occurred to me because when you were saying B bill C whatever, I was like, but every House bill starts with a C. That's part of what no, if it's a number 120 or less, then it's a government bill, and then otherwise it's probably an opposition bill. But I don't think there's been any major private member bills to do with LGBT rights over the past 15 years from anyone.
A
lot of it has
C-279 was a Senate bill, and it was a private member's bill, and it was gender identity and expression. That was famously where I was in the room. I was in the Senate committee hearing for it, and Senator Bill Plate, whatever his name is, he was saying that by adding gender identity, gender expression into the Canadian Human Rights Code, it will become illegal to call somebody by the wrong name. And he's like, what if I don't want to call them, she, her, whatever it is? And it was a reaction that I honest to God, almost laughed out loud in the room. And it was Jody Wilson-Raybould was the Attorney General at the time. And her lawyer just very calmly said, you could just say their name. If you don't want to use their gender identity, just call them Sam, call them Bob, whatever their name is. Not breaking any rules. And
usually when you use a third person pronoun, they're not in conversation with you. So if they're not in the room, then what are they going to know?
Yeah. And also, let me just check the records here. Let me just check the records. Yeah, nobody has been arrested for saying the wrong name. Let me triple check. Yeah, nobody. So let's just ridiculous, absolutely ridiculous. But yeah, the rights have come a long way. I don't know where we go forward from here in terms of a conservative government. The most obvious thing that will change is the money. Now, me and you have talked repeatedly about how the Liberals have been a boon to queer organizations coast to coast to coast. In fact, a couple of weeks ago, we talked about how an organization that was an national anti-bullying organization just up and declared bankruptcy out of the blue, despite having been awarded, they hadn't fully received, but they had been awarded almost $500,000 in federal funding. And it begged the question, how many other charities that serve the queer community are federally funded by the Liberals? And it is a lot of them. And many of them are going to have to face serious questions when upwards of 30-40% of their revenues are coming from the federal Liberals. And with a $60 billion deficit, is that tap still going to be running when the Conservatives and conservative priorities come into play for the budget?
Well, this is a place where talking about the future is actually pretty relevant. So the organization in question that you're talking about did have a national Canadian coast-to-coast mandate, but a lot of the organizations that receive funding really, quite frankly, should be getting municipal or provincial funding because a lot of them are local service centers. They They service the greater North Bay area and countryside or something of that ilk. And it's not so much that I don't think the feds should be funding them as much as it's just not their job. That's not the federal mandate when it comes to funding organizations like that, especially if it's that local. If you're talking about something that is like a Canada-wide issue to do with, like, I don't know, research or looking at quality of life, or just sort of like there's certain questions that people may not want to ask on the census because they might view it as a violation of privacy or something. So you've got these little like pseudo Quango type organizations that can ask the questions the government probably shouldn't be asking. So you put them in this sort of like semi-private shell, stuff like that. Yeah, like they would be getting federal funding, but a lot of the organizations, as we went down that list of organizations in Canada that have been getting federal funds from the Secretariat or related offices, they're completely and totally local. And a lot of them, I really do wish them to have double the funding they have now. But if you're looking at how the system's supposed to be working, they should be getting that funding from the city, or in some cases, the province. And I really do think this is a situation where we kind of need to evaluate who's paying for what and why. So like the recent dental care program, for example, the one that Jagmeet Singh introduced, I think is a fantastic provincial policy that was accidentally released at the federal level. And because that's part of the normal responsibilities of the provinces. And I'm not against the program. It's just that's not the correct level of government for that. And I think we're going to be seeing, I don't think we're going to be seeing a lot of this. I have no idea, but there's been talk amongst various conservative candidates of trying to reset that, of getting the appropriate services and the appropriate funding at the appropriate level. Whether or not that happens, whether or not that plays out in a way that is positive, negative, constructive, destructive, I can't predict it, but I do know that that is on the table as a conversation. And if that is the case, then I really do hope local municipalities do step up and take an interest in gaps in service that centers like this provide.
Yeah, I mean, you're absolutely
Or no, not that they provide. They don't provide the gap in service. They provide the service to the gap.
Yeah, they address
know
a
what I mean.
gap in service. Yeah.
Yeah. There you go.
There are queer community service centers in like Halifax and in London, Ontario that we spoke to who receive this funding. They receive this funding as capacity building. Be provincial, absolutely. Got provincial funding.
A few that did only get funding.
Yeah. But I do want to mention then
leave us alone. Steal our lands we've been on for so long. Move on in, take over our home. Eat our food, wear our clothes, quiet our song. But you can't. Sign of
Hi, I'm Tia. You're listening to
You $16 might be inconsequential, hardly covers parking or a few cappuccinos. But put $16 in the hands of Feed Ontario with their bulk buying power for over 1,200 food banks and Hunger can provide breakfast for the big change. Your pocket change can make
organizations that provides counselors align with our clients in terms of their race, their culture, and their spiritual needs. We also do cultural information programs and groups. We have programs and groups that are tailored to different demographics and different ages. We have for children, we have for the youth, we have for young adults, we have for adults, we have women's programs, we have a men's program, and we have programs for seniors. Then we also do advocacy, we do trainings, we do workshops, both for and even companies who have programs are backed up by research. And we also do consultancy in the sense that if an organization is someday is looking for statistics information regarding the Black population, we can take on that research and work collaboratively with organizations to do that kind of so bring culturally informed research principles is what we do for our research. And also we do system
I help people define resources and services and identity. So this involves taking a client-centered approach where we help individuals to identify their needs and their barriers that they may be facing. And we take a personalized approach. So we allow them to know what they're looking for. But we allow them to tell us what they're in need of. And then we also provide them with guidance and support throughout the process of whatever system they're trying to navigate, because it could be intimidating navigating different resources or services in the community. So we're there to offer guidance and support, just to help, and also forming that connection. We want them to feel cared for and valued. We help a lot of newcomers, and so in the end, you're not sure where to reach out to for help or who to even. So we like to foster that relationship with individuals, even as they're new. And one thing I really like about Kind Minds is that we don't just treat them as clients, but we call them members, because to foster a community where we feel like we are a family, even if you're new to the community. We just like to have that approach as well. And we also teach others how to advocate for themselves, making sure that they know their rights within a situation, not allowing the system to take advantage of them, empower them. Could take the lead in navigating. We also have something that an individual, before we just shut the door, we help them allow to have it, but we know someone else that does. So fostering those connections, and we want to ensure that the people that we're sending them to, we have that trusting relationship with, at least sending them somewhere, but we know that, oh, we know that this organization is able to support you in what you're looking for, and we trust them enough to help you as well. And yeah, so that's essentially overall. And we also make sure that different individuals that have used our services. They tell us like how we've been able to help them, and then where we can.
I have a lot of follow-up questions on that. So I want to figure out a lot
of Black and racialized individuals within the community for you to be able to provide such data in your grant application, research must have been done previously to get that statistics to you. So in terms of something like that, we are able to work with organizations, communities to do the research, to provide that kind of statistic. We have something that we are working on. I will not be sharing it right now, but when it's ready, we're going to share it with the community. But it's to provide